Hey, what's up? Today we're going to be doing a reading out of The Greatest Stories Never Told, 100 Tales from History to Astonish, Bewilder, and Stupefy. Anyways, this is what the book is. I got it for $2.99 from a secondhand Avenue thrift store. And, anyways, we were in the middle of the book last time, and we stopped with the mechanical internet. So I think we're just going to flip ahead a couple of pages, and we'll do night rating. This is from 1822. Okay. Whatever. The artillery captain who helped the blind to read in spite of himself. Okay. Imagine being a frontline soldier and getting a message at night. There's no way to read that message without lighting a lamp that will expose you to enemy fire. In the early 1800s, this dilemma inspired a French artillery officer, Charles Captain Barbier, to create night writing. It was a code consisting of raised dots poked onto a piece of paper. The code used combinations of 12 dots to stand for different sounds. Eventually, Barbier introduced this concept to the blind. A 13-year-old boy at the Royal Institute for the Blind was one of the first to learn this new system. He was excited by the opportunities it offered, but thought it might be too complex, so he offered Barbier some ideas on how to simplify and improve it. The hardy Barbier did not welcome his suggestions. In fact, he was insulted that a mere boy could imagine he had something to offer. When the boy tried haughtily to explain, Barbier stalked out of the room. He angrily refused to even consider making changes. The boy, of course, was Louis Braille. Instead of losing heart, he became determined to develop his ideas on his own. He labored tirelessly for 2 years to transform night writing into a far simpler system that cut the number of dots in half. He also decided to make them stand for letters instead of sounds. He was just 15 years old when he completed his system of writing for the blind, and the new world was revealed to those without sight. Despite Barbier's refusal to work with him, Braille was always quick to credit himself with the role in developing the system that eventually came to be used by blind people worldwide. Quote, "If I cannot discover a way to read and write, then I shall kill myself," unquote. Louis Braille in his diary. That's intense. Charles Barbier de la Serre, Captain d'Artillerie. Braille spent hours every day using a sharp stylus to punch raised dots while he labored to improve Barbier's idea. The tool was remarkably similar to the owl with which Braille accidentally put out one of his eyes when he was just 3 years old. Infection had set and soon spread to his other eye, leaving him completely blind. Damn. Let's read another one. The first computer, 1822. The first computer, invented more than 50 years before the light bulb. Railroads were still brand new in 1822 when a British mathematician named Charles Babbage dreamed up the idea of a mechanical calculator. He called it a difference engine. Like the railroad, it was designed to operate by steam. It took Babbage 10 years to build just one section of his difference engine. When it was completed, people marveled at its sophistication, but even as he was working on the difference engine, he conceived of something even more ambitious. A machine that could be programmed with punch cards to perform even the most complex calculations. In other words, a mechanical computer. Babbage made hundreds of drawings outlining his new idea. He envisioned that the analytical engine would be used about as big as heavy as a small locomotive containing thousands of finely machined gears. It would be able to add or subtract 40-digit numbers in a few seconds and multiply similarly large numbers in about 2 minutes. Babbage was a bit ahead of his time since this was more than hundreds of years before the first electronic computer was created. Technology was not far advanced enough to create the complex machine. He did, however, develop other more practical things, including something for those newfangled railroad locomotives. You can still see it on the front of an old steam engines, the cow catcher. The cow catcher. What is that? Cow catcher? Okay. More than 100 years later, in 1946, the ENIAC came into existence as the first modern general-purpose computer. Even bigger than the locomotive-sized analytical engine, it contained 10,000 vacuum tubes and less computing power than a handheld calculator of today. So, here's the ENIAC, right there. Sweet. Babbage was such a perfectionist that every time he started started to build the analytical engine, he came up with an idea that would render that version obsolete. Thus it became more and more complex until it became just about impossible to build. Okay, this is 1833, the name of the Kali, or the name of Kali. Okay, this will be the last one that I read. A group of hooligans who influence the way you talk. In the 13th century India, there arose a secret Hindu sect that worshipped Kali, the goddess of destruction. This sect remained a powerful and greatly feared force for more than 500 years. Members of the sect lived ordinary lives most of the year, but in the autumn they roamed in the countrysides in bands looking for wealthy travelers to kill and sacrifice to their goddess. Their modus operandi was to have one member of the band become friendly with the intended victim while the others awaited an opportunity to strike. They liked to decoy a victim to a secluded spot, sneak up behind, and strangle him or her with a scarf specifically reserved for that purpose. It became known as the Fancigars, the Stranglers, but that wasn't their real name. After the British colonized India, they made a decision to destroy the group. From 1833 to 1837, more than 3,000 of its members were arrested. Nearly 500 were hanged, and thousands more were imprisoned for life. The last known member was executed in 1882. The name of the feared band was the Thugs. The Thugs. Because the goddess did not like to see blood spilled, victims were usually strangled, but drowning, burning, and poison were also approved methods. The group liked to pick wealthy victims to sacrifice so they could provide a source of revenue as well. Women and musicians, interestingly enough, were considered exempt from attack. Okay. The city of Calcutta, originally Calcutta, got its name from Kali. It is the site of a large temple dedicated to this goddess. Kali has always been worshipped by many who were not thugs, and blood sacrifices are still made to her today, but the victims are usually goats, not people. This illustration of the band of thugs apparently between attacks appeared in Harper's Weekly in 1857. The accompanying article introduced readers to the tactics of this sect, which often used beautiful women as decoys and schooled its young in the ways of murder. Okay, so that was kind of interesting. We'll leave it there for today, and that'll be the reading from The Greatest Stories Never Told, 100 Tales from History to Astonish, Bewilder, and Stupefy. Have a good one.